Mobbing, mobbing is the most common form of gang stalking. Uh, it is basically where you have a mob of people, uh, from 5 to 10 people, uh, crowding your space, surrounding you. Now, to the average person, you wouldn't see anything wrong in that public setting, but to a targeted individual who has a knowledge of what's going on, they would know 5 to 10 people are surrounding them. Mobbing is basically harassing the person and perhaps to uh, a physical altercation. But mobbing is one of the most common tactics of gang stalking. Bullying is also a type of gang stalking when several children participate. Perhaps you have like 4 or 5 kids teasing and bullying one child. That's a form of gang stalking. Now, a lot of people would say those are kids. Well, the 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 element of gang stalking also recruits children. Children, if anything, are one of the more devastating tools that they can use because kids can be very nasty to one another. They can be very mean and uh, harsh and cruel to other kids. So, bullying is another tactic used in gang stalking against a targeted individual's child. Let's say you had a targeted individual and they had children. Well, at the school, in the neighborhood, perhaps their child or children would be bullied in the form of gang stalking. The community is, well, for the adults, perhaps, the community is very important to the targeted individual's personal life. If they are a part of gang stalking by the organizer, by the head perpetrator, they would get the community to gang stalk the targeted individual or individuals into a life of stress. And it's very difficult for that person to maintain employment, maintain ability to go to school, maintain a social life, and to be honest with you, maintain their sanity. Because in the community, if there are, let's say you lived in a apartment complex and your neighbors, next door neighbors, and people in the apartments, they could have at least 10 to 20 people that are gang stalking you. Perhaps they do a lot of malicious things, but they're very subliminal. They're very discreet. It's not overt. It's not something that they do out in the open. It's very subliminal things that they do to people, such as leaving trash near your porch. Perhaps making statements regarding your personal life, but it's subliminal. You wouldn't necessarily know it's about you, but that's a form of harassment subliminally. Perhaps knocking on your door, calling your home, and just harassing you in these ways. So the community can be a part of community stalking. The community can be a part of gang stalking as well. And if anything, that's where the most problems come from for the targeted individual. The police are also a part of gang stalking. The police actually are probably the most dangerous of them all because what happens is if you get involved with the police on this particular element of gang stalking, you are a targeted individual, and therefore it's easy to trump up charges, harass a person. A lot of the times, what they do is police will drive around a lot. If you're in a neighborhood and you perhaps riding your bike, jogging, driving, you would see a lot of cops around. They probably park in certain parking lots near where you would, excuse me, where you would be. Uh, Perhaps they would stop you to identify you, say, "Can I see your identification?" Traffic stop, things of this nature. The thing is, a lot of the times, what happens is if you are a targeted individual, there are two types of targeted individuals. In my theory, you have the truther, that's a targeted individual. Then you have the normal citizen, perhaps that just has integrity. They're a good person, and they're targeted for their integrity and not being a part of a secret society, so to speak. And then the truther, though, a lot of the times, what the truther does is sometimes they get involved in debates or disputes with businesses for perhaps discrimination, conspiracy, such and such. So they're calling the cops frequently on you, and then in the neighborhood, the cops know you, and they're just waiting for an opportunity to harass you for something. The cops can be very detrimental to your ability to sustain a peaceful and successful life because, one charge of terroristic threat or one charge of, disorderly conduct, and these types of things, you find yourself in jail. And that's one of the more effective tactics they have is using the police to harass a targeted individual. Religion is actually probably the most effective because what happens is religion ties you to a lot of demands on your life. Perhaps the belief in Jesus Christ or the biblical God that if you don't adhere to that or follow that belief in religion, that they will track you and follow you in your neighborhood. Personally, I don't believe in Jesus Christ. But at the time, I was always a conscious individual. But I went to church just for the sense of it's a journey in your life, and we all do things to improve our lives spiritually, mentally, emotionally, what have you. But I had a debate with my pastor at the church, and I asked him about Jesus Christ, and he practically tried to, double talk. He didn't really address the issue, and from that point on, it was clear to me that there was something to hide about religion. And from that point on, in the community, the neighborhood, they have been stalking me, following me around because they fear that I would expose these particular issues as a black man, as a black person, to not believe in Jesus Christ. They have to follow me. They have to monitor me because I am a threat to exposing the secrets or the lies of their particular doctrine. So the lack of truth, the lack of evidence of this particular entity that the majority of black people worship creates a form of gang stalking against me from the religious cults that feel the need to monitor me and spy on me and harass me through their religion and the government. So religion is also a form of gang stalking. Social media is also a form of gang stalking. What happens is, the thing is, if you are a targeted individual, you still have a life. Perhaps frequent the internet often. Enjoy the service of the internet, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, what have you. But due to being a targeted individual, if you find yourself on perhaps say YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, you find yourself receiving a lot of hateful comments, a lot of comments where they're provoking debates, arguments with you. If there is a topic that you're discussing, perhaps politically, some type of scandal, something that is worthy of a conversation, of debate, you find people that just are insensitive about it and they provoke arguments with you. And what they do on social media is they create a reality of a person on the internet of being crazy, schizophrenic, what have you. And you have a gang of people that stalk your perhaps videos on YouTube, post negative comments on your videos on YouTube, dislike your videos, Facebook give you negative ratings. It's all to slander your image on the internet the same way they would slander your image out in public. So social media is also a form of gang stalking, and it's probably the less harmful of all of them, but it's still quite annoying nonetheless.